Hello and welcome. My name is Samuel Ray, and with me is my co-host,
Cy Prime.
And this is CounterPick New Perspectives, our entertainment-themed podcast where we talk about a variety of topics. And so this is Season 3, Episode 2. We're back, and we're going to keep it consistent to the best of our ability. So today, the topic we wanted to talk about, and this one's going to have much less of a preamble than last week. Generally speaking, the topic in general was entertainment. And we got Tesla Kyle in chat. Hey, thanks for showing up. So the topic we wanted to talk to today, Great start.
We're going to speak to the embodiment of this topic.
Yeah. So the topic is, it's related to, mostly I thought about it as games first, but this applies to all forms of entertainment. And so, pardon me, the topic was, what makes a piece of entertainment worthwhile, like worth partaking of? What makes it enjoyable, right? My first thought was, what makes a game worth playing? But I wanted to broaden that out to everything so that we weren't shackled by one medium. And so what spawned this for me really was thinking about, it was kind of tied to our previous week topic when we were talking about modern game design trends, right? And just modern design in general and a lot of things. And I mentioned something in that episode, in which I said a lot of what I've been enjoying lately, game-wise, has been like indie games, not really your mainstream AAA stuff. And I kind of got to thinking, what is it that makes those, to me, more worthwhile than other, the other games that are out there on the market today. And so that's kind of why I wanted to get into this topic. So yeah, and also discussions with Cy throughout the week, because currently our taste in games it differs quite a bit in terms of what we like play over time, right?
Yeah, a
little bit. So yeah, so I guess we can just kind of hop into it. We'll start with games. What do you
usually do?
For you, what makes a game worth playing? What is it that you get out of a game that makes it worth your time and or money?
Okay, that's an interesting question. Just off the... Okay, see, recently and for a while, I've mostly played multiplayer PvP games, right? That's what I've been playing mostly. So I guess from that angle, I would say I am drawn toward okay, this is gonna sound terrible, but I like winning. I like being good at something and being like, I'm good enough at this to have success, whether it's like through knowledge and or like execution, whatnot. I am drawn to that, but that's not applicable toward all video games, because obviously that's kind of just a PvP thing. I don't play as many single player games as you. We've talked about this before, and part of that is just first child, second child sort of things, right? Like when I was growing up, starting to play video games, a lot of the time I would be playing as player 2 in a multiplayer game. Not always player versus player. Started with Sonic 2, obviously. We've talked about that on even the first episode of this podcast. True. But I think you're more inclined toward one player games because partly because you had that period of time in your life before I existed, where you were the only person playing there.
To an extent, although
you
my
were the
start,
second player for Dad.
yeah, I got my start being player 2 for Dad. So
yeah, but regarding single player games, I think it's just having an experience. You know, like in the most recent like several years, one of my favorite games has been Superliminal.
Oh, yeah.
For those who don't know, it's like the closest popular thing that I can liken it to is Portal, right? It's similarly a first-person puzzle game with a narrative, but obviously you're not using portals. You're using like dream logic sort of like perspective things.
Yeah, like you pick up an object, move it further away from you, and it shrinks.
You could look at an object, like a large object that's far away, and then grab it, and it's close to you and small. That kind of thing. But you know, obviously they build on it and have different concepts of how you use perspective in the different areas. And it doesn't have much replayability. It's kind of just an experience that you go through once. But I will always remember that game. It's very ingenious. It's it's an experience, and I kind of like that. And like, even with games that aren't necessarily as out there and inventive regarding things like that, for instance, one of the recent games that I've played through, I'm still playing through the, like, I guess you could call it post game, Sonic Superstars.
Right.
There's an element of the first time experience going through it, seeing all the zones, seeing all the unique like mechanics or set pieces that they put in these different zones, right? It's an experience going through it for the first time. And like, it's not even necessarily like a skill and mastery thing. Sonic Superstars wasn't that, like, there were some things about it that occasionally were irritating, but generally we're both very good at Sonic games. It's not that difficult to master a Sonic game. You run, you jump, you roll.
I'll be honest, I streamed my playthrough of the main campaign, and there was a lot of more aspects that frustrated me than I expected there to be. But they came in like about halfway through the game.
Yeah, I mean, there were a couple things, but still, it's an experience, right?
Yeah, like I didn't hate it like a lot of people do. I could see some of the limitations, like the development limitations they had in terms of time and budget, that really kicked in, like I said, about halfway through. And they were frustrating, but they weren't insurmountable, right? And then at the end, though, in that final boss against the big Eggman bot, the Samurai one, just the Eggman boss. What frustrated me the most about it was the performance issues that it had on the Switch, with the stuttering, eating my jump inputs on the part where I had to time my jumps.
Yeah, that didn't bother me so much. It ate my input once, and I beat that boss, I would say, like, about a dozen tries, I think it was.
If you go back to my stream, it took me quite a while, and I got real frustrated about those stupid jumps.
But if I could take us on a side road here on the topic, I also think there's an aspect to this that I want to branch into from Sonic Superstars. And I mentioned it to you briefly before we started, but we try to save most of the conversation for the pod. Some people, in gaming, I guess you could call it the greater gaming community. I wouldn't really call it a community, because if something gets too large, it's an audience. The gaming audience. Is that some people can't really find a middle ground, it seems like games are unique as a form of media, right? For many reasons. But I think one of those is that it's more nuanced to have be able to have good and bad points in a game. Like, you could even look at a game that, to an objective enough standard, you could call it a bad game, but someone could still just enjoy it anyway,
right?
Based on their preference. I guess that does happen for movies, but I feel like it's not often.
Oh, like the Terabad, so bad it's good.
You more only get that in the Terabad.
The Room.
I guess there are Terabad games, but for instance,
What was Sonic 06?
I enjoy. I was going to say Shadow the Hedgehog.
Well, Sonic 06 is my example of.
No, Sonic 06 is Terabad.
I would say
Shadow the Hedgehog.
Well, the problem is it's so mechanically buggy and broken that it's hard to enjoy purely on its merit, and that's why the Project 06 is happening, where
no, I think that's what makes that. I think actually that's a great point, though. I feel like that's what differentiates bad games like Shadow the Hedgehog and bad games like Sonic 06. Just to keep it all in Sonic, from what I'm branching to, Sonic 06 is Terabad. And as far as the gameplay, the general entertainment one can get from it comes from how comedically bad it is.
I guess so, yeah.
Shadow the Hedgehog is a satisfactorily programmed game. The levels, other than two of the maybe three. Weren't there 2 arc levels?
Yeah, there were the 2 arc levels. One was more frustrating than the other, though.
Okay, so I'll say 2. The one frustrating arc level, and then the city, what do they call it? Station Square level with the bombs.
Yeah.
Those 2 levels, I would say, are the unenjoyable ones. But the other ones are a serviceable Sonic game. It's just funny, the the guns and Shadow being edgy, and it's just it's funny. It's still a serviceable enough Sonic game. I would still call it bad, just because of how it drops the ball in many ways, but also it has enough things that are enjoyable. You can zip through, shoot the gun. It's fun. It's not like a Sonic 06 or even a Sonic Forces, which is just
utterly mediocre
in so many ways.
Yeah.
Even Sonic 06 makes you feel something that's positive, if only just the joy of laughing at something. But yeah, a lot of people in these kind of circles, gaming audience, anime audience, whatever, general geek stuff, right? Sometimes it seems to me that they have trouble not having just an extreme judgment, a sweeping extreme judgment, this thing is terrible because of this and this that's bad about it, even though there could still be some enjoyable things to that. For instance, an anime example that I would give: Sword Art Online.
Right.
There were good seasons, there were bad seasons. There was always pretty good action. You can enjoy some things for what they are, without acting like it's obviously it's not a work of art. I need to silence my phone there, sorry. It's not a work of art. Well, I guess it's technically art. It's images,
well,
but
it's not a masterpiece.
It's not a masterpiece. Yeah. Yes, that's the word.
It's not the pinnacle of storytelling, but
you can enjoy things that aren't the best thing ever, And is Sonic Superstars the best thing ever? No.
No.
There are good things about it. There are bad things about it.
I would say objectively
enjoyed
Sonic
it.
Mania is better, but Superstars
Absolutely.
was like, I had an enjoyable enough time in the early stages, right?
Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed the later stages too, but like, yeah, they're not some of the best Sonic stages, but I felt it was worthwhile playing it still.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Kyle points out here that with the arc levels in Shadow the Hedgehog, if he remembers correctly, there were 2 flashback levels, but also some in the present. There may have been like 3 or 4.
I was thinking of the flashbacks.
It's the ones with Maria. Yeah.
Yeah, the ones in the present weren't bad. The ones on the arc.
No, it was the flashbacks that were awful.
Of flashback arc levels.
Yeah,
So let me
those
put
were
it
the awful ones.
there. But yes, you're right, Tesla Kyle. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's so like, and yeah, I kind of get you, because like they're okay. So like, to kind of bring that into movies, right? There are movies that have been critically panned, or even panned by the broader audience, that we love, right? One example that comes to mind growing up was Osmosis Jones.
Wait, what? People don't like Osmosis Jones?
Osmosis Jones was a critical failure, or at least it was enough of a failure. It's an odd case, because most of the feedback I heard about Osmosis Jones was negative. But it got a cartoon, so like, was it actually a failure? You know,
I mean,
but it got a sequel cartoon.
It might be because like people might have thought the live action parts were cringy. Is my first guess.
Maybe, but our family really enjoyed it. That was a long time ago. Another one, Treasure Planet.
Well,
it was a commercial failure. Yeah,
that was a whole like viper's nest of I forget what company it was.
Disney.
Disney?
Yeah.
Disney just like didn't promote it at all, did not advertise it. Like the people who made it, they had wanted to make Treasure Planet for so long, and after they worked on like 2-3 other movies, they finally gave them the chance to make the movie that they wanted, but they didn't promote it. They set it up for failure. And they also I watched a video on it a while ago. They also released it like in the worst part of the year to release movies.
It was set up for failure, basically.
I think against like steep competition of other movies that were releasing at the time too.
Yeah. Another case, right? Between the two, I think it was 2 or 3 different movies in a similar era.
Yeah, November 27th, 2002.
Megamind. Between Megamind, Despicable Me, and Kung Fu Panda, all of all DreamWorks animated movies in a certain time frame, right? Like a 5-year span, I think it was.
Wait, I don't think Megamind and Despicable Me were done by the same people.
Yeah. Despicable Me is Illumination Studios.
Yeah.
Right, but who are they owned by? Hang on. Despicable Me. Let's see. Universal Pictures.
Megamind is DreamWorks.
Megamind and Kung Fu Panda are DreamWorks. Despicable Me is Universal. Okay. Animated by Illumination, who are the ones who did the Mario movie.
Yeah.
So it was Kung Fu Panda that hit it big for DreamWorks compared to Megamind, but we always kind of like Megamind more.
Well, yeah. The thing about Megamind though is it had the unfortunate timing of coming out very near Despicable Me, and Despicable Me just hit the young kid demographic much better, especially with those who latched onto the minions, the little characters that can be marketable plushies.
Yeah.
There wasn't as much of a marketable plushie character in Megamind, Yeah, the little like sharp little drones and the fish in a big gorilla suit minion, right? Like that's not gonna appeal to the 4-year-old as much.
But okay, so then let's break down though to what
Despicable Me. The first movie was good.
Yeah. So let's get into the topic then, because let's bring it back to the topic. What was it about Megamind that made it feel like a more enjoyable movie for us?
Okay, well, number one, the themes were more nuanced.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because like to just like summarize Despicable Me, it's actually they had similar themes because it's about like
Despicable Me was kind of a found family story.
Well, yeah, but it's also about like they're both about a supervillain that wants to prove themselves, but then learning to accept themselves, right, and be their real self, in the broad strokes. But
real quick, Tezuka might have a point there. That weren't the minions originally meant to be human, and they made them yellow blobs for budget reasons. It might have been easier to animate them that way, but they probably also went through some market testing, and they probably tested with a higher positive response, So because of their marketability and mascot ability, you could say.
Some live research here.
Yeah. But Despicable Me was that found family story, right? With the
just
remarkable
off of
minions.
cursory Google, I can't find anything regarding them originally going to be humans, but it's possible.
And yeah, with Despicable Me, so found family, the super villain adopts the kids for, what was it again? It was for a
to get into Vector's house because his defenses were too good, so he had to use the girls selling cookies,
right,
to have an opportunity to
but
get
then
in
they
with little cookie bots,
right? But then they get into kind of soften the walls around the villain's heart, right?
Yeah.
So and become a found family, then
also Despicable Me did lean a bit into the fart humor and such like that, whereas Megamind didn't. Despicable Me, the first one, wasn't too bad, but they went more into it as the series progressed.
Yeah. Megamind, though.
Also, Megamind had more nuance with the like I remember the dinner scene with Roxanne when he's trying to be surreptitious and be like, oh, if I was, if I had a very large head and skin color of a popular primary color, just for a random example, would you not be so inclined to think of me as a good person? She's like, no, I wouldn't judge you based on that. Judge you based on your actions. Like that's an actual like very mature message to show. Now, granted, there is one criticism I did hear in a video about Megamind, that it would just be a little better if they didn't have him immediately get the girl at the end of the movie. Have it be like, we have to build that trust back up before something's possible, because you were a villain, but let's see where you go. But other than that, it's a very mature kind of like nature versus nurture. You had the extra element of the villain versus hero sort of thing. Like in Despicable Me, Gru wasn't really like the kids ostracized him or whatnot, but there wasn't as much of a people pushing him into the villain role as there was in Megamind, especially with the juxtaposition with a superhero present in the story.
Yeah, that's true.
Gru isn't as much a supervillain as a villain.
Yeah.
Yeah, there aren't really like superheroes present, and even in later movies, like Despicable Me 2,
more like a spy movie villain than a super villain.
They don't introduce superheroes; they introduce like super spies.
Yeah.
So it's like a different, and we've always been more fans of superheroes than like spy movies. So just personal preference in there as well.
Having grown up on what we did, yeah, a lot of Marvel and DC.
But also, Megamind came before really the boom of superheroes really went into full swing. And so they had those loving references and sort of parodies of various superhero tropes that we knew as, fans of superheroes before that, the MCU really came
MCU
into
boom.
being. But so it wasn't overdone, so that was a plus.
Yeah,
sort of parodied different genres. There was also Gru's mom, as Tezuka said. It kind of belittled him, so he had the desire to do something great to prove himself.
Yeah. Say, look at me now. Yeah.
And plus, as I saw someone say in one video about Megamind, people were kids were probably just generally more inclined to, either the funny yellow pill movie, with the minions doing funny, goofy stuff, or the, kung fu action, a Kung Fu Panda, as opposed to Megamind, where there wasn't actually that much direct action as something like Kung Fu Panda.
True.
And you have relationship drama.
Yeah. That's a fair point. Like
a breakup in the rain. Like that's
true. That's beyond a lot of kids.
Mature movie stuff. They weren't making a movie for children.
Yeah, that's a fair point. It did seem to target an older audience who like us, who grew up on superhero media, and then you have the subversion of the tropes and or the lampooning of the tropes, right? Where sometimes they leaned or heavily leaned into some of the tropes, right? And then subverted other tropes, and then made something a unique story out of it.
Wait, did I say 2002 earlier when I saw a date? It might have been 2012.
Yeah.
I read it wrong. But yeah, Megamind came out in 2010. So I was a teenager at the time. So yeah, it was just more appealing to my demographic where I was at the time than Despicable Me was.
Yep. And so I think it's it's definitely,
we're really far off the topic.
We are. Sorry, that's a left field thing, but no, I mean, it's kind of relevant though, because we were talking about what makes stuff worthwhile, and we brought out some of the so back to the
to
main
make it
topic.
relevant, I think something to take here from this point is what makes a piece of entertainment media worth it does depend somewhat on the person consuming it, right?
Yeah.
Very largely, age is a big factor there. Obviously, a bunch of the things that I watched her play at 3 years old, I'm not gonna be sitting down to play backyard baseball on the computer in my 20s.
Hey, they're grown men making videos about backyard baseball. I watched some of them.
Videos is another thing that just I'm going to sit down in my free time to play a video game. Yeah. Shall I play backyard baseball? No.
True. Hey, but you know what? Some people do that unironically. What's her name? When Mint started streaming, Made Mint, she sat down and played some of those kids' childhood point and click adventures, Zumbinis and those Pajama Sam type games, because that was her childhood.
So, but there's a difference.
That's a nostalgia thing, though.
Between a nostalgia thing of one time playing this old game that you have nostalgia for content, as opposed to you're not going to be every week going back to this nostalgic game.
That's true.
You go back to it every now and then.
Yeah.
Especially when it's something that isn't, like a timeless classic, no matter what age you are, like a Genesis Sonic game.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be going and playing Tiny Toons.
Yeah. So let's go back to the games, because you said what you've been playing a lot lately. it's either the single player games are like concise experiences that are unique, right? Creative experiences, or PvP
to different extents. I
Yeah,
mean, you
or
know, there's like the Sonic Superstars level of the spectrum, and then there's the superliminal level of the spectrum. You know.
Yeah, and then PvP like card games or Pokemon Unite.
Yeah, which are just like repeatable experiences that you kind of just like do the same thing, but because of the fact that you have multiple human players in it, every time you play it, it's going to be a little different.
Yeah, and actually, a suggestion I have for you in terms of single player that you might like is roguelikes, because it has that replayability of PvP, but without the frustration elements of PvP, because it's still a PvE game.
Yeah, I have played some roguelikes.
Yeah, gonna have to find the right one though. Like, there's so many different types. Once you find that right one for you, it can keep you hooked for a long time. And then
there's one I learned of recently that's like it's a roguelite that's actually based on like cards. Like, I mean, there's a lot of actual playing cards.
Oh,
Balatro.
Yeah, I forgot about that one.
Yeah, and you can like upgrade some of them, but yeah, it's like it's based on 5-card draw.
Oh, okay.
Basically,
interesting.
You can get like special jokers and kings and stuff.
Yeah, I'd heard of it, but I never delved much into it.
Yeah, I don't know much of it. I saw a little. I've seen like clips and a little bit of like a Sarah's Fauna stream, but
maybe one to get into try out sometime is Pokemon Rogue Edition.
Pokemon Rogue Edition.
It's a ROM hack that creates I think it's an Emerald ROM hack, but it like so much has changed that it's practically a completely new game, and it's roguelike. So it's got some of those randomizer. Rogue. Yeah, there you go. So it's got some randomizer elements into it, but more finely tuned.
Interesting.
Rather than just pure random. So it's definitely it's got a little bit of the randomizer from Nuzlocke, but like I said, more finely tuned and balanced. What was I saying? For me, honestly, what has made a game worth playing has changed depending on what point I was in my life. When I was younger, I started off playing games like my first game ever was Sonic the Hedgehog 2 on the Sega Genesis, playing it with my dad, watching him play it first, then playing as Tails, and then taking the reins as Sonic while he played as Tails. And then eventually just graduating to playing on my own in Sonic 2 and Sonic 3, Sonic and Knuckles and all that good stuff. And I don't think I realized it at the time, but like a lot of the games back then on the Sega Genesis era, especially before save points, they were a repetition, but they didn't have the random elements of other players or roguelikes, right? Roguelikes didn't exist back then on consoles. And so the fun,
okay, so you're going more
we would
for
restart, because
the mastery of a predictable.
Yeah, because we would because if you play you boot up the game and you play it from the beginning, right?
Yeah.
And every time as you played it, every time you get better and better and get farther and farther until eventually you're good enough to beat the game. And then you could even still keep playing after that, because there's still like a lot especially with Sonic game design, the better you get, the better the game gets, right? The better you are, the better the game gets.
Yeah, that's a bit more the old school like arcade sort of sensibility of video games as they were.
Yeah, but applied in a different way, since Sonic was never an arcade game like at that in that way.
Yeah, but it's still before games like went to a different place of how they're.
Yeah.
It was still like right after games came to people's homes, so there still wasn't that much of a difference between how the developers were looking at it.
Yeah, and there were a lot of arcade game ports on the Genesis too.
Yeah, so. but I came in a bit more after that period in video game
Because back when I was a kid,
so it
games
makes
were
sense
tough.
that you would be more that way.
Games were hard, and you started over from the beginning every time until save files started becoming a thing, and that was on the taller cartridges and stuff.
Yeah, but like while I did grow up with the Sonic games as well. I was younger with that, and then soon we transitioned to the GameCube, right, which was much further from the arcade style of video game design, So it makes sense that you would more intrinsically have that kind of arcade sensibility of mastery of a predictable system of gameplay.
And in recent years, I actually kind of revisited that style of design with shmups, particularly the Danmaku or Bullet Curtain shmups. Like there was a period of time where I was like really diving into those and enjoying them because of that element of the mastery and being rewarded for that mastery, right?
Yeah, but like, and we talked about this, a bit ago, like a week ago. I recently went to an arcade, like an arcade bar with some people, but and played some of the like TMNT and X-Men like beat 'em ups and tried Donkey Kong and I forget what it was called, like Tough Guys, but I kind of just got bored with with a lot of them because it was just the same thing over and over, and it wasn't that deep, really. I mean, thankfully it wasn't eating quarters, but like there wasn't much there to keep me there, I need something a little more to chew on.
Yeah, it's interesting because in recent years I have, like I said, I've been kind of wanting to get that arcade feel again, even though I didn't grow up in the arcades. Like you said, there was a lot of those design sensibilities in the Genesis games I grew up on, and so like I've been kind of wanting those sensibilities back a bit and been finding that like I'm playing old school Need for Speed, right? Arcade racing game, arcade racer style racer. Not
also feel
truly
like
remember Hot Shot Racers? We enjoyed that for a little bit. I mean, and that was a true arcade racing game.
Some arcade style games are a bit more like there's more potential for like skill mastery, and some other ones like beat 'em ups and whatnot like are not very, like they're kind of shallow pools. And me, I have the urge to know things, and if something just I already know it within like 2 minutes of playing it, it's like, well, why am I still playing it? Why am I still playing this and trying to get to the final like even the bosses in like various beat 'em ups aren't really that different from each other. You still just go up, you punch them, and when they're designed to munch quarters, then there isn't that. Sometimes there just isn't that much possibility for like just using skill to circumvent the opponent's attacks and things like that. You kind of just have to face tank it and then respawn again and keep going.
True. Yeah, that's why I've heard people say great things about the newer beat 'em ups. Like the newest Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Apparently that one's great. It's got a lot more depth to what you can do. There's one I heard about called Fight and Rage. The ones that like, kind of take fighting game type execution and depth and implement them into beat 'em ups, right? Streets of Rage 4. Stuff like that.
Then you look at like shmups, shoot 'em ups. It's like there's a level of like precision, maneuvering, remembering bullet patterns. Like I can see that.
Or just getting good enough to do it on reaction, because I don't really memorize bullet patterns.
Yeah, that's it. Different for different people, but
also those have something for different types of play, because you can play just to complete it, or you can play to go for score challenges, right?
Yeah, but I don't think everybody, every gamer is the type that wants something that they have to learn. And granted, like we've talked about it before, sometimes fighting games especially can get to the critical mass of like, and everyone's critical mass is different, but of like too much to learn where well, too much to learn and not being able to learn as much in execution, in playing the game. So,
and for games, it is important to be able to learn through playing rather than people don't want to read tutorials to learn how to play a game. They want to learn through playing.
But as I've probably brought up before, some players just want to bulldoze, and like back in the day, we had fun with like Dynasty Warriors Gundam, but at a certain point, we got tired of it. We stopped playing it because you just like mow through, small fry for like 5 minutes, get to the boss. It's a little more difficult, but then like whatever.
You're still using the same attack strings against the boss as you are against the small fry. You just got to do more of them.
Yeah, and like there's an element of the spectacle, but for players like us, I would say, it eventually dries up.
Yeah, I would say most of the fun I ever had with the Dynasty Warriors style gameplay was playing it with friends, because then I think they would scale the difficulty up higher, and it was just it was more fun because I was playing with someone.
Yeah. So I think for a better answer to the question that you presented me with at the beginning, I think now I can answer it better. For single player, it's an experience, a unique experience, seeing what's there. And for player versus player, it's something that I can learn about, gain skill in, and see myself getting better as I win against better players.
Right. Makes sense. That's why I think you would like roguelikes if you find the right one, because it has that element of you're failing early on, but then as you get better, you are able to do more and get further, and
that makes sense.
And eventually conquer it.
Combine both both
it's
the
kind of a middle ground,
experience part of it and the mastery.
Yep, and that's why I say you gotta find the right ones. That's why I think that's why like Hades was so popular, because it combined the roguelike gameplay loop with, as you're playing, you're gradually unveiling a story, an experience.
But I think there are some other games
there
where
are other
it's
ones
like
that do that.
A level of like there's the draw of mastery of your character, right? But it's not necessarily against difficult obstacles, and that doesn't appeal to me, because like if you're there's no reason for me to master a system or a character if there isn't something difficult to overcome.
Yeah, for us, we've always needed challenge for it to feel satisfying, right? If there's no challenge, then it's like, in a game, if there's no challenge at all, then it's not engaging.
Also wanted to notice Tesla here said, I like fighting games, but I don't like playing them. Yeah. Because like it is there are some audience like that. It's like you can like the watching it, seeing the spectacle, or maybe playing against the computers or whatnot. But it can be frustrating fighting, particularly players that are a lot better than you.
Well, I've seen it. The audience that, honestly, Tesla Kyle, you probably, there is more for you in the genre now than there was in the past, because they have been kind of changing their design focus to make it more enjoyable for the casual player who doesn't know, like, have all the super high mastery level, or in some cases don't want to learn.
Old head who hasn't been here for a while.
Well, so basically modern fighting games, and it's been kind of in discussion, but they seem to be moving in the direction of being designed for the casual player and those who don't necessarily either don't want to learn or don't have the ability or time to learn, to be able to press buttons and have fun, and then for the spectators to enjoy watching. And then and a lot of old heads, people who have grown up playing fighting games for a long time, have been kind of alienated from the games because of you can't have both. Unfortunately, with fighting games, it seems like it's hard. Well, you can, but it's really hard too, right? Smash Brothers does it right. There's a lot of depth for skill mastery, but there's a lot of fun for casual play, and you get to learn through playing. Right? They mastered that balance way long ago.
I mean, platform fighters are just fun, kind of
inherently leaning towards that. Traditional fighting games still struggle with it to this day. Either they're too hard for the casual audience to parse through, but then really engaging and enjoyable for the old school fighting game enjoyer, or they're, you know, more approachable for the casual and modern players, modern gamers, but then alienating for the old school.
But so what? So I've answered the question, but for you, what is your answer of what makes a game worth playing?
It's, for me, I feel like it comes down to one word, and it has to feel fulfilling. There has to be some form of satisfaction behind it, and different people do get that in different ways. Like, and I've experienced a number of those. Like in my JRPG phase, I enjoyed the character-driven stories. Tales of Symphonia was the one that really turned me on to that, right? And it was so satisfying when I came to the end of that, to have the conclusion of this big story that gradually unfolded, right? Because like you don't have any hints of what the story's going to become early on in most JRPGs. Yeah, there's a lot of twists, turns, new characters leaving, you know, that kind of stuff. But I really enjoyed it, and I was invested all the way through. And I played through the thing beginning to end, hooked. Other more story-based single-player experiences that had lasting impact on me, like BioShock Infinite, left me. It was my game of the year that year, and I was just like, I remember thinking about the ending, and then doing research and reading online other people's interpretations of the ending, and just diving down that rabbit hole of the discussion of the game. It was, you know, those are those. Hey, how's it going, Fuego? Haven't seen you in a while. But yeah, it was, so we're talking about, in terms of entertainment, like games and movies and other media, what makes, something worth experiencing, basically, worth partaking, right? And, so like, feel like it has to you have to have some form of like satisfaction from playing it, because here's the thing. In the grand scheme of things, video games for most people are not going to bring them any like life benefits, like in terms of monetary or, you know, progress in some sort of a career or anything like that. The people who can make money off of something related to video games are a very small amount of the population who play video games or who watch movies, right? The movie critics. Not everybody's, the joke phrase, everyone's a critic, but how many actually get paid to be a movie critic? Right?
I mean, it's just movies. Like any form of entertainment. I mean, football. Plenty of people play football around the world. Mm-hmm. Very few play it professionally.
Exactly. So in the grand scheme of things, for most people, entertainment isn't going to have a monetary or, you know, tangible benefit like that. But so it comes down to that like satisfaction feeling from experiencing it. Did you feel more satisfied than frustrated, right? Because like that's the thing. I feel like the sign of a bad movie is when you leave the theater feeling frustrated, right? Like, man, that was you in Interstellar.
I knew you were gonna bring it up.
Well, because like the ending ruined what could have been otherwise a great movie for you.
Yes,
and you left that movie feeling unsatisfied, right?
Yes, yeah.
But then there have been other movies that are like just, you know, what they call a popcorn flick, you know, just very simple, you know, just turn brain off and watch, like Fast and the Furious, but you can have a good time watching it. And so would you say that something like that, like when we watched, what was it, Hobbs and Shaw, like we had a great time watching that, right? Would you say that Hobbs and Shaw was more worth your time than Interstellar was?
Yeah.
And it comes down to that feeling that it left you with.
True. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so I feel like it's the same way, like I was saying
Well,
with games, right?
Because
I've had some where the story left me feeling very satisfied and just like thinking about it, and then there's others where like I needed that, like in my fighting game period, right? It was like you said, that mastery, that skill mastery feeling of improvement that feels satisfying. And then I've even found some satisfaction in some battle royales and roguelikes. And it's just let's see what's Senator Fuego saying. Okay, so controls feel nice, so game feel, challenge, yeah,
and
replayability. Replay, yep, that's very good points. Yep, satisfaction, game feel, challenge, replayability, like that's all. And that's the thing though, not every game needs replayability, I would say, because like for you, right, you're not replaying Superliminal, but that game had the lasting impact on you.
I don't know like all the games that Play Here players, but I do know you're a big Super Smash Brothers guy, so that's on the level of like play versus player, like we were talking about earlier. I was talking about fighting games. You weren't here yet, but yeah. So I definitely see that those points. Once again, they apply to fighting games, PvP, that kind of thing. For some people, it's shooters. I enjoyed Transformers: Fall of the Cybertron back in the day.
Oh yeah, that was a good game.
Fall of Cybertron, my beloved.
You played it more than I did.
I miss you so.
I was the one who had the Xbox,
out the levels
and
on my characters. I like rolled it up. There was a mechanic where I think like
the prestige system.
After you max the levels, you could like roll it back over to bottom, but you got some sort of special like aesthetic, I think.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly what it was, but yeah.
Yeah, that's a prestige system. You max it out, you roll over, you reach prestige 1, then you do it over again, and you prestige 2. Yeah. And you played it a lot. It was on my Xbox 360, but you played a crap ton of it.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I couldn't, on your system, right? It wasn't like I
mean, it was in the living room most of the time, or in my room.
No, yeah. But, like, I wouldn't go and play something like Final Fantasy 13,
Yeah.
I tried at one point, and then it'd been so long since the last time I played it when I felt like, okay, let me go back to it, that I didn't have any memory of this place.
Yeah, so, I have no memory of this place.
So I just put it down. Like, and JRPGs take so long to get like actually into the game, whereas on my brother's console, right, I could just play even just one game of Fall of Cybertron PvP after I also beat its campaign, but even that is way more succinct.
Yeah.
Sure. Like I could just sit down and play for like 10 minutes and that would be a heck of a time, Are you gonna get anything from playing a JRPG for 10 minutes? No.
Yeah.
You have to sit down and play that for like an hour at least.
Yeah.
To get anywhere. So
I think there's a nice there's a clip I love that is used sometimes in similar discussions for games, but it's Reggie Fils-Aimé. If it isn't fun, why bother?
Why bother?
Yep. And so that's what it comes down to, is like, is it fun and satisfying for you? And obviously that's different for different people. And some things are going to appeal to more people than others. But if it's fun for you, then it's worth playing for you, right? And it's got to leave you with that satisfying feeling. I think there's certain types of things that just that carry less of that inherent value, right? And like, depending on why they're being made, right? Like, but then again, I mean, like there are games that are meant to be super punishing, right? There are still people who can find that fun and extremely satisfying.
Yeah, Dark Souls, classic example.
Yeah, and I even got a taste of that in Armored Core 6, beating Baltius before they nerfed him with a patch. Like I was beating my head against that boss for almost an hour, and when I finally beat it, I had that yes kind of moment.
Well, see, that's the thing. That's your version now of playing fighting games. Because fighting games have that same kind of, like, they can be frustrating, but it's satisfying being a tough opponent because you get to be like, yeah, take that.
And the reason why is because I was able to find my own way of beating Baltius. That's the thing that fighting games have been lacking for me lately is I can't succeed or surpass the struggle my way.
Yeah, we've belaboured that point in the past episode, but I'm just saying it's the same kind of...
Yeah, it's the same kind of feeling,
principle,
just in a different flavor.
Just against the computer as opposed to another player.
And you know what? I've experienced the same thing in roguelikes. There was a roguelike action platformer that I was playing, and it was really tough. And then I eventually actually beat it, and it was satisfying when I finally beat that final boss because I had hit a wall, you know?
I mean, I played way more One Step from Eden than you did.
You did, yeah, and that's a good one. I still, to this day, have I think I've cleared the simpler run, the basic run that you have to do the first time you ever clear it.
Oh yeah, I did the version of the run where you get like the special like chip and then go around once more.
Oh, Yami? You did a Yami run?
Yeah.
Dang. Yeah, you got to do a second loop with Yami, and then at the end you can use Yami on.
Yeah, it's higher difficulty when you go around.
Yeah, it's expert. That actually comes straight out of some shmups, you know, with loops.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of shmups that were popular in that scene that had a first loop and a second loop system. And the second loop was basically expert mode. But yeah, so okay, so you got a taste of that, and you actually completed a Yami run. It's crazy. Because that's the one where you have to use a Yami on the final boss, right?
Yeah.
And then you get the different version of the ending.
Yeah.
Like, it's harder, but you're also overpowered, right? Because you have Yami.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, you also have to like find it in your.
Oh right, so
deck.
It's not the only.
Or did it replace your deck? I don't know. I forget.
I don't know.
It's been a while.
Oh, what? No. No. Never mind. It doesn't appear until
like a glitch.
Yeah, it's in your deck, but you don't get to actually use it until the final boss.
Yeah.
That's right. I'm thinking of the glitch where you can cause a third loop where after Yami has appeared in your replacing everything in your deck, and then you get a third loop where that's the only attack you have.
Yeah, like I unlocked nearly all the costumes.
Yeah, true. We need to play Duelist of Eden. We haven't touched that yet.
Oh wait, I did unlock all the costumes. Like after I beat like all of the routes at least once, I went through and specifically hunted the rest of the achievements to get all of the like costumes and chipsets.
Okay. So you went achievement hunter on that one, or completionist.
Yeah.
We need to play Duelist of Eden, dude. Like, I forgot that was out, but I have it. We need to play that. But yeah, so I do. Okay, so then what do you think can ruin the value of a piece of entertainment? We already got a hint of that with Interstellar. Yeah,
and I was going to say something based on that first. And I've talked about this principle before too, even in like something like tabletop gaming, right? Mm-hmm. Betrayal of expectations.
Okay.
That's what killed Interstellar for me, right? Because I went into it expecting and the vast majority of the movie
hard
reinforced those expectations. Hard sci-fi. And spoiler warning for those who haven't watched Interstellar, I guess it's like probably 10 years old by now, or close at least.
I'm about to look it up.
But at the end of the movie,
2014,
they do some nonsense thing like the fourth dimension is love. It's like, no, it's not. You did a whole thing where like the main character, the Matthew McConaughey main character got a message from his daughter after she grew up, and is a young woman now on the like dying earth, but because of like time dilation, he's still the age he was, and then by the time he gets the message, it's probably been like a decade after she sent the message, and this whole like using gravity warping time with the black holes and space travel, and it's all like according to actual theoretical science and physics and stuff. And then they do this like power of love and friendship. Like, no, you don't get to do that in the last 10 minutes. That's not what I came here for. You've wasted 2 hours of my life with a good thing that was ruined by cheesy nonsense. If you were cheesy all the way through, I would have expected this.
Yeah, like what was that? Wrinkle in Time, right? With the like that was cheesy through the whole thing, so it felt like less of a betrayal.
I didn't care much for Wrinkle in Time, but at least it didn't betray me.
Yeah, and so
yeah, but like, and
this has been a side prime rant.
Yes, yeah, this has been a professor rant. Okay, there we go. Prime rants.
But yeah, so what that comes down to is it felt like it wasted your time.
Yeah, and like we don't talk about tabletop games often, but like I've played tabletop games, playing more than you have. Yeah. And like there's even in obviously most people know D&D, but there's plenty like I played superhero based ones. Yeah. Sci-fi and stuff. No, but like often there's stories of like, oh, the murder hobo party, right? They just go around, they just be like just attacking everyone and whatnot.
Yeah.
And while generally people take that as a negative thing, if the whole group agrees, yeah, we're enjoying this, then you're not betraying anyone's expectations, and you're just like, this is how we're playing it. That's fine for you. But like if the game master is trying to do something more narrative and with more like actual reverence for the story and whatnot, and then the players go murder hobo, then they've betrayed the expectations, or maybe the game master didn't lay out properly like what kind of game they're playing. Method. Or if if the game master like suddenly changes up what kind of game they're doing and the players didn't expect it and they don't like what it's become, then that's also it's betraying expectations. Like it's not that any of those kinds of games are necessarily bad, it's that you didn't sign up for it. If you bought a game that marketed itself as a fighting game, and then it suddenly became a point and click adventure, that you wouldn't feel betrayed because point and click adventures are bad. You'd feel betrayed because you didn't buy a point and click adventure. You bought a fighting game.
So essentially that's the same reason why a lot of people were frustrated with Sonic Frontiers.
Yeah, and that's
the base game's final boss.
Yeah, people didn't appreciate the
being Ikariga.
Yeah, the sudden Ikariga, the sudden shoot 'em up.
And like it wasn't super, it was sudden, but they also trained you for it through the mini games, the hacking mini games that are mandatory throughout the campaign.
But you wouldn't expect a mini game mechanic to show up later in the final boss.
As the final boss.
And like we kind of enjoyed it just because we tend to dabble in more genres than I think a lot of gamers do. Like a lot of gamers tend to stick to like this one thing that they like a lot and not really branch out to other things. But we can still recognize that that was a weird design.
It was kind of a swerve.
And it was probably in large part because of time constraints.
Yeah, because we saw what the DLC final boss is like.
Yes.
Oh man. While that had its flaws, man, it wasn't cool.
Yeah.
So definitely felt like what we should have had.
But in short, betrayal of expectations can ruin a piece of media.
Okay, betrayal of expectation. Blah blah blah.
Expectations, yes.
Betrayal of expectations.
Yeah.
And I would say just that feeling of your time being wasted.
I mean, that's part of betrayal of expectations.
It is, but it also goes further. And I think it's a reason why a lot of people don't vibe with certain genres, such as fighting games.
Never got a true fight with the end itself anyway. Well, the DLC's final fight was pretty pretty close to that. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it was using Supreme as its avatar, but like,
What else could
how
a
are you
giant
going
purple
to-
moon gonna do?
yeah, how are you going to directly fight a moon or like a concept? It's not like
In a way, the original version of the fight against the end was actually more believable. What are you gonna do with a giant purple moon entity other than shoot at it?
yeah, the original fight against the end was a direct fight with the end. So that's actually what you asked for. It's just not in the action.
Yeah, making
genre,
it use Supreme, which was formerly an underwhelming boss, right? Because it was undercooked.
Yeah,
especially judging from the animations and QuickTime event sequences that are hidden in the code unfinished.
We've to have some creature break out from the moon like an egg, but I
feel like that would have been a retread of Dark Gaia from Sonic Unleashed.
Well, speaking of, we've talked about this before offline, but like I've said, how this is just a sidetrack, but like how it would be interesting if there was a fight against the end that used the original concept,
premise,
right, of Sage using Supreme alongside Supersonic, but like in action form where you are fighting alongside Sage, more like the Dark Gaia thing. But
that would be more like Sonic Unleashed or Sonic Generations, with the two Supersonics, swapping back and forth, fighting against the Time Eater, right?
Well, I more think of it as like not swapping back and forth, but like the computer, using being Sage using the Supreme.
So like Sonic Unleashed with Light Gaia, right? Like Chip using the Golem.
Yeah, like that would have been cool. But that's just me coming up with ideas based on something that already exists.
Yeah,
like
but what would Supersonic have been doing other than punching a big space rock or shooting blasts at it, which he doesn't do? That's something Shadow does. So like there wasn't a whole lot they could have done with a direct confrontation with the end in the form that it took, right? Because we know that's the form it takes is dependent on the perception of the people looking at it.
It's like Galactus.
Yeah,
you perceive it as something because you can't actually fathom its true form.
Unfortunately, its nature as the embodiment of a concept kind of hamstrung what they could do with the final boss. So I do think what they did in the DLC was the best they could have gone with it, and definitely felt satisfying to complete and to experience.
Yeah, but so you were saying, something about wasting.
So that is something that I think we're going to go into in a different video. It's actually something me and Sai were planning on discussing. So stay tuned for that, because we were going to discuss the end as a character. So
I'm something of a Sonic expert myself, so we can go into that.
Yeah, and maybe that's a reason. Maybe we can
bosses.
Maybe we can record that tomorrow. That way it can be released next week or something. Close to this whole thing, right? But so what I was saying was something that really kills the merit or the worthwhile, the value of a piece of entertainment is if it feels like it's wasted your time, and that's in a broader sense than just the betrayal of expectations. That is something that definitely heavily contributes to that feeling of wasted time. Like you said, a 2-hour movie with a butt pull end. Or not a butt pull, but a swerve end, right? Going to completely different concepts than what was presented in the whole majority of the movie. But it's also just that feeling of like for example, if you're watching this is more recent,
all right,
but we don't have to go into like spoiler territory per se. Sonic Prime Season 3. There you go. There you have it. So many episodes, several episodes, it felt like we were going nowhere.
And that's another also thing I just want to mention too.
Thank you, Idolum.
Thank you.
I just kind of found this, so I'm gonna have to get a new festival job done.
Yeah, but it's just another thing that also attaches back to what I was saying about people not being able to enjoy the good that is in something that isn't, perfect. Because like Sonic fans are historically impossible to please, and people and like there are people saying like, "Ooh, Sonic Prime was bad." It wasn't bad.
No, as a whole, the show was good
in it.
As a whole, the show was good.
It did fall off a little bit in the third
Yeah.
in the third.
And the reason for that in part 3 was it just so much time spent rehashing the same fight, right? They were trying to do this
I
grand.
was the one that said this to you.
Yeah,
it was the same scenes over and over and over again.
And I watched some videos talking about part 3 after we watched it. You know, I like not to watch that kind of stuff until after I've experienced it myself. Yeah. That way my impressions are not colored by, you know, others. And so a lot of people said that, like, there was just so much, like, piddling around, just like dragging on the fight between the two armies, you know, and it's just like it went nowhere, right? And all the times that they were just trying to make Nine, you know, run down his power, right? And it's just like, how many? And then all the times that Sonic tries to plead to him with the same stuff.
Yeah, like we get the idea you're running down his machine, but like it's just so repetitive. Whereas in the first 2 parts of Sonic Prime, it wasn't.
The pacing was better. Yeah, there was a solid pacing through both of those parts.
Yeah, they were doing different things.
Part 2 felt like that fight again with, you know, the new form and the prismatic Eggman golem thing. Like, that felt like a final boss moment. Yeah, that felt like a boss moment, right? From a Sonic game.
Yeah.
But then season 3 kind of drug on a little too long. Like, the first episode of season 3 was good, and then the majority of the middle portion felt like it just drug on, and then the end felt like it just was rushed ending. Like, why all of a sudden
2 episodes from that, and it would have been the same.
Like 9, Sonic's pleads only got through to 9 when there was literally no other option, because everything was falling apart, like all of reality. It's like, why did it work this time other than the like 5 other times he tried to you know, to reach 9? Like, at a certain point, Shadow was, you know, you had to consider Shadow right, and just, you have to take him down, right? You know? You have a good point, because it's not, you can't please all Sonic fans, you can't please you can't please Sonic fans, you can't please all Sonic fans at the same time. But and that's the case. That's the case with all fandoms, though, because there's always going to be, you know, subsections of an audience that likes different things from each other. That's always just a factor.
Still,
right?
I feel like people don't know how to criticize what they actually don't like.
Oh yeah,
you know?
And that's just a human constant.
It becomes a generalization of Sonic Prime was bad, not this thing in Sonic Prime was bad, and so like they don't get, like, okay, what did the fans actually not like about it? They just hear the fans didn't like this thing. Nothing in it was good, according to them. But no, there was plenty good in it.
Yeah, but going back to what I was saying was, it's that feeling of your time being wasted that can really sour something, right? Sour entertainment, a piece of entertainment medium. It didn't, like, for you, the ending of Interstellar ruined the whole dang thing.
Yeah, well,
for us, Sonic Prime didn't really ruin season 3 didn't ruin the whole thing. It just felt like a slog in those last several episodes, right?
Well, and that's the different, and like there are other anime,
but one's a movie and one's a show, though, so there's a different impact.
Well, I think the different impact largely comes from it wasn't a betrayal. It was just a waste of time. So it started dragging a little bit. We started growing cold on it a little bit. As opposed to, you know, there's a difference between that and a left turn. You know, it's just
true.
As if we took the long way around, and it's more of a not
your rant, not your whole rant. Yeah, exactly. We don't have to rehash the whole rant. I actually clipped it. But still, for a lot of people, especially in games,
like, it's not as much a souring as a cooling off.
Yeah. Now, especially in games, though, feeling like your time is wasted is a much bigger deal, because it's an active participation entertainment medium.
Yes.
And so if you're actively participating and you feel like your time is being wasted, that feels worse than if you watched a 2-hour movie and your time was wasted. You're like, man, you know, I spent $60 on this game, I played it for 10 hours, and I feel like I haven't gotten anywhere in it. You know, that's just a crap feeling. And unfortunately, that is how a lot of people feel about fighting games, because of their steep price, right? You pay 40 to 60
Yeah.
bucks, not
I mean,
counting DLC, like season
but
passes
also
and
there's
stuff.
different, you know, thresholds of different people, and you know,
Yeah.
I grew up with fighting games. Plenty of people didn't.
Yeah.
You know, so it's harder to get into something like that as an adult than as a child.
Yeah. And so for a lot of people, though, they're like, I spent.
Because children are, strangely enough, children are much more patient with games.
It's crazy. You would think they'd be less patient, but they are much more willing to sit down with the game and learn it.
I mean,
I think that's just because they're sponges in terms of learning anything, you know?
Well, also, like, I enjoy, and daggone it, all of my examples are Sonic, but like, I enjoyed Sonic Unleashed.
Well, that's because that's
Night
the most
Stage.
recent single player game you've played was in the
Yeah.
Sonic franchise, or the last
like,
two.
But like, I enjoyed the as a kid, Sonic Unleashed night stages.
And I
even
felt
though-
like they got boring.
Yeah, as
Overstayed their
as
welcome.
an adult, I can look back and be like, yeah, they were way too repetitive.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, they
like,
overstayed their welcome for sure.
kids can just have fun with something that's repetitive. They do the same things
is
over
true.
and over again anyway.
That's true.
You
Think
know?
about all the kids who love Fortnite, and then all the people like you who just feel like it's boring.
Yeah, so like if a kid gets into fighting games, a lot of the time they can also just deal with like even if they you know, keep losing, unless they're, you know, a kid that really doesn't deal well with losing.
Yeah.
They can be like, oh well, that happened. Let me try again.
True.
Whereas adults will become impatient.
Because sitting down to play a game and spending most of the time losing feels like a waste of time.
Yeah.
Like I could have been playing anything else and had a more satisfying time. Because we have
Yeah.
more limited time, limited patience,
Or
limited
if
money.
Or if you're playing a game that that drags on, then you start thinking, I could have been doing something that earns money.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
Like I already
And
have a job.
And I'll be honest, that's why I haven't. And that's another thing. A lot of people, you know, with fighting games, they don't like learning fighting games because it feels like a job to them, and they're like, I already have a job, or college classes, or what have you.
Yeah.
For me, and it's like, I totally get you. Like that's why I haven't gotten into
errands.
Yeah, and that's why I haven't gotten into any JRPGs for a long time, because I just don't have the time for it. You know, I just feel like, you know, I'm sitting down to play a game for, at this point, most of my game time is when I stream.
Yeah,
you know,
JRPGs are the epitome of like, oh, get 100 hours into it, then you could start having fun. It's like,
That's MMOs.
Whoa. Okay, yeah, but like, I don't know.
That's why I haven't gotten into an
50
MMO
hours.
either. But
20, 50 hours. I don't know the specific number, but you get the idea.
Yeah,
It's like you have to invest up front to get to the
most
point that's really
JRPGs
fun.
average
It's
about
like,
30 hours to beat.
okay, well, it's like
But that's a work week, right? That's a work
10
week.
hours. Yeah, like play it for 10 hours, and then
Yeah,
it
and
really
then-
starts getting good. It's like,
Yeah.
well, so
That's the thing that
I'm
gets
going
me
to
is,
spend
like-
a whole week playing a game and not having fun just so I can maybe have fun later.
Honestly, that's the part that gets me is like, since you start off at level 1, you have like almost no skill variety and stuff, and you don't build up true like enough variety for it to feel more engaging and fun until you reach about 5 hours in. I would say 2 to 5 hours.
And,
you know,
and for the love of God, JRPG fans, stop saying that to people because
Oh,
you're
yeah.
turning them away. Sell them on the story and the characters, then maybe they'll be willing to
true.
to invest in it.
These characters, this story will hook you, and it's not even going to feel like you. And next thing you know, you'll have played it 10 hours of it, and you're not even going to feel like it. That's more of a selling, because like, holy crap, that must be a good story, you know?
Yeah, don't
Yeah.
tell people you need to spend 10 hours to start having fun, because then
all
they're
you're
not-
telling them is
they're-
that the game doesn't respect their
yeah,
time.
you're telling them that they'll be wasting their time.
Exactly. And that's why the phrase respect the player's time is a thing in game design, right? The game has to make the players feel like their time is not being wasted, whether that be because things are taking too long to pick up or improve, or, you know, their skill improve, or that it's like there's just like no point to it. Like for some people, they feel like here's the thing. I don't think anyone's ever going to say that a game that was under 2 hours was a waste of their time. You know what I mean? At most, they might say it was a waste of their money if it was an expensive game, right? But
Yeah, I guess so.
but generally, something that's under 2 hours is not expensive, right? $20 or less. At that point, you got your money's worth. If you enjoyed it. Like for you, Superliminal was not the longest game. You beat it in what, 3 hours? I would say cumulatively.
Yeah, like let me look it up on like how long to beat.
Right. And so it's just like, you know, and you got it on sale, I think, so, at some point. So it's just like, you know, you got your money's worth, even though it's not something that you can necessarily replay over and over and over. You got your money's worth, and you didn't feel like your time was wasted because it was a unique experience that you really can't get anywhere else.
2.5 to 3 hours.
Yeah, and that's an experience. And I would say you were probably at 3 because of the certain points where you kind of got stuck a little, which is just part of the experience, you know. Kind of trying to figure out what you need to do next with the or I might be thinking of the other one too. There was that other one. What was it? With the box, right? The perspective games.
Conundrum.
No.
No.
That was another first-person one from the Xbox 360. You know, the one where you're rotating the box with all the scenes in it and playing with the perspective. Moncage.
I haven't actually gone back to that.
Oh, you haven't?
But yeah, you're thinking of that with when I was stuck in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got stuck in Superliminal on one puzzle just because I couldn't figure out what I was supposed to like grab.
Right.
To like light up a place or something. But yeah.
But yeah, so
okay, there were 2 spots, but I'm not gonna belabor it.
Okay. But yeah, so it's just like the game needs to respect the player's time.
It's also a $20 game. So
yeah, so you know, $20 for 3 hours, that's not bad.
Yeah.
Right? That's, what is that?
We don't need the ratio.
Yeah, I was gonna say $10 an hour. Anyway, like I was saying.
No, it's not too. That would be $30.
Sorry. Oh yeah, fair point. Either way, you can't really put an arbitrary ratio like that on it anyway.
Yeah.
On value, because it's different for everyone. But yeah, don't waste people's time, right? Just don't waste people's time. And there's so many things that can waste people's time. The betrayal in stories, like the betrayal of expectations, or I guess to an extent that works for game mechanics, right? Like in that video we were talking about where the box art in the old days, and then what you see, the rudimentary pixels on the screen, it's like, about how that was, but that played more into perspective, right? And setting building using external media, but that's a different matter altogether. But like, you know, this game. Okay, I've got a great example.
Okay.
He-Man, the new one, the Master Universe Revelation.
We're gonna get to this.
Well, just briefly, it was a betrayal of expectations in all the in the promotional material. The first, you know, the trailers before they came out, they showed a lot of He-Man doing He-Man stuff, but all that was only from the first episode. Then they bait and switch you, and nobody would have minded if it was like if the advertising had been more honest, right? Because then it wouldn't have been a betrayal of expectations, right? And that's what it comes down to, is like when advertising, right, when something is advertised and then the final product is actually very different than advertised, people feel like their betrayal is expectation is their woo.
Whoa.
They feel like their expectations were betrayed and that their time was wasted, right? Or that they were tricked. And that's just bad, right? Like, set the expectations accurately and then satisfy those expectations, you know, fulfill those expectations. That'll lead to a satisfying experience.
Similarly, there are cases with like series, like for instance, Street Fighter 3, right? They wanted to make everything fresh and new and have completely new characters, but the fans that liked the characters that they already had were like, hey, where's Ryu? This is Street Fighter. You need Ryu, you need Ken, you need Chun-Li. They were like, okay, let's put in Ryu, Ken, Chun-Li real quick. You know, that's all we can do. Like, they didn't realize yet that
those characters were such staples.
Especially those 3 characters were Street Fighter already, from Street Fighter 1 to 2.
And they definitely learned it better. They learned better in Street Fighter 6, because they're kind of doing a passing of the torch, trying to make Luke kind of the new main character, kind of like they did with Alex in Street Fighter 3. but they kept those staples and kept them relevant, right?
You know, something related to that too that I just remembered recently because it's something that I saw on Twitter.
Okay.
Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite.
Right, lacking
Marvel
X-Men
players
characters.
love their X-Men characters, and also, you know, a few of the Fantastic Four characters. Those were gone too, but especially the X-Men characters. And you know, the
Functions.
Marvel players expected to see their Wolverine, their Magneto, I guess Storm, like
right.
but especially Magneto. Magneto's like one
But
of the big
Nova's a
ones.
function
Also,
of Magneto.
Doctor Doom. No.
And that was a disregarding of that, you know, those expectations, right?
Good old combo feed. I guess it technically is.
It wasn't
damage
his
control
fault, though.
if you cause more damage.
Well, it wasn't Combo Fiend's fault, though. He was put up to that by the marketing department.
Like he's not the one that got rid of the X-Men characters, obviously.
Yeah.
But you know, his damage control.
Yeah, well, but
damage.
it's pretty clear that he was put up to that damage control by Capcom and Disney. So, or by Capcom, and they couldn't outright say, you know, well, it's Disney's fault. We can't have the X-Men in it. So, you know, so it was really kind of the buck ultimately comes down.
Why not say due to business reasons we couldn't have these characters?
Because Disney, they would have punished them for it.
For saying something that is just
that would have painted them in a bad light. Yeah. Disney's contracts are notoriously like really strict.
That's not even like a non-disclosure kind of thing to say. That's just like,
yeah, it's one of those bite the hands that feed you kind of thing. They can't. Capcom couldn't. Like you know, it's in no way did they ever say that because of any kind of business or contractual reasons they couldn't have the X-Men. They had to try to redirect or you know,
whatever.
Like kind of throw the blanket over it, so to speak. They just
But like, is there any other thing that ruins like entertainment media that is not what we've already talked about? You know, the wasting of time or betrayal of expectations.
I would say is it's when the purpose English today when the purpose of it is not to entertain.
Yeah, I suppose that would make bad entertainment media if it doesn't entertain.
Yeah, and so
you got me there.
You know, like, and that's not to say that entertainment can't say something. It's the only language I speak, Tesla.
It's our English first languages and only languages, and you know we're pretty good at it 90% of the time.
Yeah, Tesla's
but
like
I think
English
that
second
percentage
language
is
thing.
dropping by the second.
But what I was saying was, like, that's not to say that entertainment can't say something, right? Can't say something deep or philosophical or have some sort of message.
Even has a little message to it.
Yeah,
it's kind of cheesy, but it's kind of corny.
It's an inherent part of a lot of stuff, right? We write what we know. Like you said, we make what we know. So there's nothing. I mean, heck, I've even got some. Occasionally, I will speak a message, you know, about, you know, enriching your mind. Trying to be open-minded and listening instead of just having, you know, staunch conclusions that, you know, being too rigid and then
but if a message,
we all have messages that we want to promote that we feel are healthy, right? But
if you're an entertainer and your message supersedes entertainment, then you are failing at your job.
Exactly. And so no piece of entertainment. Yep, and no piece of entertainment media should put the message above the entertainment factor. You gotta the truly good ones know how to weave it in a way that it's not beating the person over the head, right?
Yeah,
it's weaved in seamlessly into the story, or into the imagery, or into the environmental storytelling, right? Like, heck, people try to say that the Dark Souls and Elden Ring and whatnot type games don't have stories. No, they have a lot of lore and story, but they don't just you know, hurl it at you. They let you uncover it gradually, right? And then and they often have sometimes do have a message, like you can. Yeah, that's beyond the point though. But
and to give one more Sonic example, for instance, literally from the beginning, Sonic had the angle of like, an environmental message, right? It's nature versus machines.
Yeah.
But never have they
Gone to the
really,
extent where it
like,
felt like activism. Yeah.
yeah, it was also just, hey, have fun. Blue rolling, dude. Be fast.
Exactly. The entertainment has to come first. It's okay to have a message in it if you want, you know. There's something for everyone, but don't make that the whole point. And unfortunately, I feel like a lot of modern design stuff does do that. If you
don't want to make something fun, why are you making a game?
Yeah. Like write a thesis or something.
Write a book.
Yeah. But they feel like no one's gonna. Well, but the problem is, unfortunately, entertainment does have influence on, especially developing people, but like on culture, and so it's sneaky. They're trying to be sneaky about it, unfortunately. But like, yeah, you know, it's okay to have a message behind a story, right? But don't make it. Don't beat people over the head and tell them what to think. Right? It's some of the best, most thought-provoking stories I've had in games, movies, and books, and anything. They were ones where there was a lot of, you know, a lot of nuance, a lot of depth, a lot of stuff to make you think, but it doesn't tell you what to think. It gives you food for thought and then makes you think. That's some of the best, honestly, methods of having a message, is give it as food for thought, right?
Well, because like, isn't Armored Core kind of like that?
Yeah, I mean, the settings of Armored Core has always been one of those sci-fi settings with futuristic mega corporation controlled.
Yeah, like it's similar to Gundam, showing, you know, the ravages that humanity and
between warring factions, right? Yeah, and even Gundam actually, yeah, because it was a very anti-war message created in a time when war was fresh on the mind of the Japanese people, right? But it didn't tell you what to, especially in later Gundams, right? Obviously, the first one is a little more on the nose with Xeon's imagery. We're not gonna go into details on that, but generally speak. But the thing is, they always portrayed like there was bad people on all sides, right?
Well, okay,
there was always bad people and good people on all sides. They never told you that, you know, to generalize, right? It was never all like Ramba Ral. He was the first example. He was the prime example, right? At first you think, oh, all the Xeon people are bad, but no, Ramba Ral was actually a pretty good dude, right?
I also think a message can be on the nose without being preachy.
Yeah.
I mean, even look at Godzilla.
True.
It came from being an allegory about the
pollution of the planet,
threat of the threat of nuclear weapons.
Oh, right.
Yeah, Godzilla was created because of nuclear weapons, and he is a representation of the atomic bomb.
Right, and the repercussions of it on nature and nature's wrath.
And it's very obvious. It's very obvious.
Yeah, but it's still not like screaming at you, this is what you must think, this is what you must feel. Right.
It was an expression from the filmmakers.
Yeah. And so then it leads to it still being entertaining, right? Rather than overly preachy.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a good point.
And not entertaining in like a happy-go-lucky way, but like,
yeah,
you know, there's different forms of entertainment. There can be, and like we've mentioned before, in like Dark Souls, for instance, it's an entertainment that isn't like lighthearted and like, oh, I'm traipsing around, you know, but like entertainment in the way of perseverance through hardship, and you're like, I accomplished something, you know. Entertainment, and
that's usually weaved into the narrative too, right? Your character's usually some sort of like underdog, you know, the world's out to get you, and you have to persevere to, you know, complete some objective, right? Overarching objective. So that perseverance is weaved into the plots too. Yeah,
but entertainment isn't always happiness.
No. But yeah, and it's entertaining. Yeah, if something's entertaining, it can either be fun, it can be thought-provoking, it can be, you know, intriguing, it can be many different things. It can be emotion evoking, right? There's so many different aspects, but you have to have.
Yeah, some people literally seek out, you know, sad movies and such to, you know, have a catharsis, you could say.
Yeah.
Just letting out a cry or whatever, like.
true. But yeah, you know, and so just to be super vague, never make the message of your thing, if you're so and so, you're bad and you should feel bad. Right? That's the worst kind of preaching and anti-entertainment. So like, just if it's in entertainment, make it enjoyable to the intended audience first and foremost, and then build everything around that, right? Whether it's books, movies. Heck, I've been enjoying some real good book series lately, the Galaxy's Edge series, which is kind of like some people who are like, we're not a fan of the direction Star Wars went in, we can do it better. And so they're building their own sci-fi-esque, almost Star Wars-esque sci-fi world that has some very distinct differences, of course. It's not just a straight rip.
Shoot, even Spy
going
Family.
For a long time. Ooh.
Even Spy Family has
that's
like
true.
a message to it.
True.
Like,
but
it's also just very. It could be like an entertain. I've said this to you before. Like, having fun with the cheeriness, the comedy, and then they bring back the like some life-threatening stakes, and then when you're done with that, they go back to like the
wholesome stuff.
And just when you're comfortable again, they hit you again.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's there is entertainment media that uses things like subversion to make a point, or to make a point in their message, in the storytelling and stuff like that. And that can be done right. I've heard in games of the example of Spec Ops: The Line, which ended up becoming almost a commentary on, in games, the combat like nature of a lot of games, and how we don't really think about, the meanings that such actions would have in universe, right? Because it's a video game. But the thing is, in that game though, it was still a game. They still made sure that the mechanics were tight and enjoyable. They still made sure that the overall experience was still entertaining, right?
And also, I would say some people confuse subversion and betrayal of expectations.
Yeah.
I feel like you can do subversion without betraying the audience.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's kind of it's
tough to do,
it's
right?
a delicate balance.
Yeah. What's one of the greatest subversions you can think of in a story? That just ended up giving a good
okay, I have the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Original Star Wars, Darth Vader.
Oh yeah, fair point.
You expect him to just be the simple villain that you need to defeat,
and
right?
he killed Luke's father.
And then, no, I am your father. That was a subversion.
But it made the story better.
Yeah.
Yeah, it added more depth, and then it made the ending more meaningful, right?
Oh, yeah, you have hit it right there. A betrayal takes away. Subversion adds.
Subversion when done right. Yep, that's true.
Yeah, good subversion adds to the story. Mm-hmm. A betrayal of expectations takes away.
Yep. In your case of Interstellar, the go-to, the ending took away so much of what was good about what led up to it.
The integrity of the story.
Yeah.
Because
but with Star Wars,
sticking with the science.
Yeah, but with Star Wars, the subversion of Vader's identity added to the story and made the ending more meaningful. Right? Because the villain turning wouldn't have meant as much if it wasn't for the sake of saving his son. Right? That added that emotional depth of, no, this is why he turned. He did it to save his son, and that turned him back into a hero. Right? And it's like, it adds so much to it.
It wouldn't have made sense at all without the personal connection, because Luke would have had no reason to reach out to him.
And maybe that's why Nine's turning at the end felt kind of empty, because Sonic was saying the same stuff to him throughout Sonic Prime, or at least Sonic Prime Season 3, and he was like, his heart was closed to everything Sonic was saying up until the end, when there was literally no choice. And all of a sudden, the thing he was already going to do, which was take Sonic's prismatic energy, which could have killed him, and it became, but this is going to kill you. Are you sure you want to do it? It's like, you were going to do that anyway. now all of a sudden you care. It felt a little bit like a too much of a left turn, right?
I think that's a bit more
It took away from it a little
nuanced issue with the writing than just subvert. Actually,
True.
That's like the opposite of subversion. But the issue, like the issue is.
Sounds kind of he's a Sundere, I guess.
But like the issue is a bit more that like it seems like it makes him not as empathetic as I think they intended.
Yeah.
Because what comes across is he doesn't relent until he finally has literally no other option.
Yeah, yeah.
Which still
makes it
just
seem less
makes him come
genuine.
across as only interested in self-interest,
Yep. Yeah. How do we know we can trust him? You can trust me. That doesn't help. That was my point on the ending. It's
okay,
like
I didn't have an issue there because like they kind of had to trust him, so that's not really like
it's like we don't really
they
have any
didn't
other
have
choice.
any other options. But like that doesn't reflect badly on the other characters because they
true.
have no other option.
That's true.
Nine is the one that caused it and kept fighting until he had no other option either.
Yeah. It's interesting. There's definitely a lot of nuance to it, but we kind of came to some real good conclusions here, right? Or what makes a piece of entertainment media worthwhile, right? It has to be enjoyable first and foremost to the intended audience. And that doesn't mean try to appeal to everyone, because when you try to please everyone, you please no one, right?
Yeah, mass appeal it requires you to appeal to the denominator. I was gonna say lowest common, but
the most common denominator.
The denominator,
Yeah.
Because to appeal to a lot of people, you have to make something blander.
Yeah.
Because stronger elements of a piece of entertainment media are going to be liked more extremely by a smaller amount of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's why like things like comic-based movies become less liked by like comic readers or fans of the cartoons and stuff as they go on, because they're trying to appeal more and more to the larger audience, and that takes away necessarily more or less some of the appeal of the more niche audience that likes it more to appeal to a larger audience that's like, oh hey, this Marvel thing, that'll be cool, I guess.
Yeah. So make it enjoyable to your intended audience. Don't betray their expectations. Subversion is okay if used to enrich and add to, right? Make it better.
Yeah, subversion should add, not take away.
And then don't make the audience feel like, your audience feel like their time is wasted in general.
Yeah.
Just don't just to make respect the player's time, respect the watcher's time, respect the reader's time, all that kind of stuff. Try not to drag things on too much. We're not any kind of
like gurus on this. We're saying things that plenty of other people have said, but I think there's some excuse me, I had a burp. Some my
value in reiterating stuff.
Value in how we got to the everybody's going to get to different things in different ways.
Yep. And so just
or get to the same thing in different ways.
Yep. And just make sure the focus is on being good entertainment, and the rest can be built around that, right? Don't be wasting people's time. Don't be beating people over the head with a message. Don't be punishing players for trying to have fun with your game.
Also, I would say to those who are artists who make media with a message and are trying to like get something across, right? Like that's perfectly fine. Obviously, there's a place for that. But you people don't, don't club other creatives for making something that doesn't have a message.
True.
There is also a place for entertainment that is just entertainment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like make your art. That's perfectly fine.
And if you have a message,
great.
don't make the message the entire product. That's the thing. You gotta weave
we already
it
talked
into
about
it.
that, but specifically, I'm talking to the creatives. Like,
right.
make your piece of art with a message. That's fine. That's lovely. We love that. Don't berate or like
attack.
take issue with people who makes some kind of art or entertainment that doesn't have a message. Because not everybody wants to. Sometimes you just want to
like our example of
or enjoy
Fast and
something
Furious.
that is just fun.
Yeah, like Fast and Furious, the only message in that is family. But aside from that, it's not trying to make any grand statements.
I mean,
right?
there might be more than that. I don't know.
But that's the main family.
But
yeah, so it's
like, let people make and enjoy what they like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there was something I was going to talk about, but I don't know. I think I can really weave it into the topic any better than what we've already talked about. And I think this is a good point to kind of bring things to a close, actually. So any last words you want to say, or any last thoughts that may have popped up into your head?
I think that was my last word.
Okay.
Just one more thing to tack on to the end,
Yeah. Make it enjoyable. That's just my last thing. Like Reggie said, if it isn't fun, why bother? So make it entertaining. Not any. Okay. No, Kyle. Not any last words with the. That looks like a super soaker. Or
it's different on different phones. On Androids, it looks like a water gun.
Oh, and there goes the revolver bouncing across the screen. Okay. So it's different.
Oh, yeah.
And then it looks different on the on-screen chat than it does in the OBS and YouTube chat. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's the same emojis look different.
Either way. Not any last words in that way. So
any final points?
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. You know what? It's been a week, and we've been talking for near 2 hours. So so that's pretty much it this time. Good episode, good talks. And I thank you so much to those who popped in and gave you your thoughts in the chat live. Definitely enjoy having some more input on that. That's part of why we're doing this live now. One, it'll help to do the podcast with consistency every month, and two, even if we're not able to have a guest member on the thing, the chat is the guest members.
Yeah,
right?
We love talking to each other, we love talking to you, and we love when you talk to us.
Yeah.
But also, thank you to all those who may have tuned in and not chatted.
Oh yeah, of course. Our lurkers are very important on this channel.
Please feel free to chat if you if you don't feel assured that you are welcome to, or welcome to not.
But if you want to just be here just to listen to us talk, that's always great too. And honestly, on this channel, because this is hosted on my YouTube channel, every single viewer is important, even the lurkers. And if you want to support even more without having to chat, just hit like on the stream when you're viewing this live, because every like actually helps the algorithm push it in front of more people. So
like, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff.
Yeah. And then for those listening to this and to those listening to this in audio form after the fact, or in the edited re-upload on YouTube, definitely make sure you follow this podcast. We're going to keep things going. We're going to keep this ball rolling. We do this live on the last Saturday of every month is the scheduled time for the live podcast. And then I edit this, trim it down a bit for podcast platforms, and to re-upload on YouTube in a more digestible form, with editing, music in the background, all that good stuff. And then make sure you can give us feedback on Twitter/X. Yes, I say it that way. Using the hashtag CounterPickPod, one word. And then you can also @ me at s_factor_sam. The same you'll see on the author of the podcast and on the channel here on YouTube. The same on all platforms. Sci Prime, I tag him in the related tweets, so you can use that to find him. He's not making content quite yet. He's working on some stuff in the background.
Yeah, I'm ostensibly working on some stuff.
And you're gonna see him often here on my channel, even not in the podcast. Like, he joins me in the Pokemon Unite streams and other co-op game streams too. So yeah, that's it from us for today.
Good old lab coat bros.
Yeah. Oh, and on podcast platforms, leave a review if the platform lets you. That'll definitely help. And I'm not going to ask for a 5-star review like some do. Give me whatever you feel like we deserve, right? Give
5
whatever
stars would
review.
be nice.
Yeah, if you feel we earned it. But give us whatever review you feel we deserve, and give us whatever feedback you feel we deserved, whether it be in the on Twitter, in the comments on YouTube, likes and dislikes. Be honest with what you think. Just be very respectable in the way you word it, and I will be happy to engage with all thoughts and feedback. There's something to be gleaned from everything, but I definitely like to discuss with people even beyond the episodes. So yeah, that's pretty much it for us. So this has been Dr. Sam, aka Samuel Ray, here on the s-factorsam channel, and my co-host.
Yeah. God, I wasn't expecting this. Sci-Prime,
Yeah.
Prime.
And that's wraps on this episode of
Samson
CounterPick
Prime.
New Perspectives podcast. Hope you enjoyed. Hope to see you in the next one.
Later. My mind genuinely just